I never imagined that a quiet Tuesday afternoon could become one of the most defining moments of my life. My name is Gideon Clark, I'm 39, and I've been married to Serafina Holt for 12 years. For most of our marriage, I thought we were solid. We had our routines, our little quirks, and even after all this time, there were moments when I still caught glimpses of the woman I fell in love with. But lately, things had felt different. Small, almost imperceptible cracks had started showing. Late nights at work, a distracted gaze, subtle avoidance of conversations about the future, little things that I tried to rationalize. I kept telling myself that maybe it was stress, maybe she was overwhelmed. After all, life wasn't easy for either of us.
That afternoon, I had finished a long stretch at the construction site. I was tired, dusty, my back aching from hauling bricks and cement. I decided to treat myself to a cup of coffee at Bramwell and Company, the little cafe just around the corner from our apartment. Gideon Clark, working man, finally taking 5 minutes for himself, I thought. As I pushed open the door and felt the warmth of the cafe, I spotted her immediately. Serafina, sitting at a corner table. Not alone. There was a man with her, well-dressed, confident, leaning in as she laughed at something he said. The kind of laugh she used to save only for me, for the quiet, private moments when it was just us. For a split second, I froze. My chest tightened, my stomach dropped. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe it was a colleague, a distant friend, someone from her volunteer group. But no, I could see the way she leaned toward him, her hand brushing against his arm. That laugh, it was hers, undeniably hers, but it wasn't for me. And then the look, the way her eyes met his, warm, familiar, the kind of intimacy I hadn't seen in years. I walked over, keeping my movements slow. I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't even know if I could speak without my voice shaking. When I reached the table, I cleared my throat gently. "Serafina," I said. My voice sounded alien to me, rough, almost pleading. She glanced up at me, eyes widening for a brief moment, and then something strange happened. She leaned back, smiled faintly, and said, "I don't know you." I felt like someone had taken a cold iron and pressed it against my chest. The words didn't just sting, they carved something deep out of me. I wanted to ask her if she was joking, if she realized who I was, if she remembered the nights we stayed up talking, the vacations, the plans, the laughter. But her face was already turned away, her attention back on the man. And just like that, she stood up, grabbed her bag, and left. No glance back, no explanation, no recognition of the years we'd shared. I sat down in the chair opposite where she had been. I didn't know how long I stayed there. Minutes, maybe 10, maybe 20. The hum of the cafe, the clatter of cups and quiet chatter around me, felt distant. I kept replaying her words, "I don't know you," and the memory of that laugh echoed in my mind. For years, I had believed in patience, in loyalty, in the idea that love could survive small distances, that effort and care could bridge gaps that life inevitably created. And yet here I was, confronted with the reality that maybe some gaps were too wide to cross, some silences too loud to ignore. Eventually, I got up, stepped outside, and felt the cold breeze hit my face. It was almost liberating, in a way I didn't expect. My first instinct was to chase after her, to demand an explanation, to argue, to cry. But I didn't. For the first time in years, I felt a strange clarity settle over me. I had been holding on to a version of Serafina that no longer existed, and for all my efforts, she was choosing someone else. Or maybe she had chosen to forget me entirely, and there was nothing I could do to change that. I walked to my truck, sat inside, and let the engine idle. My hands shook slightly, but not from fear, something heavier, something colder. I realized that staying in denial, trying to rationalize, trying to pretend that our marriage was intact, had cost me too much already. My dignity, my time, my energy, my quiet hope for happiness. And now, confronted with the undeniable truth, I understood that the next step was mine to define. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't go to her office, her friends, her social media. I just drove. I drove without a destination, letting the streets unfold in front of me, the city lights blurring through my windshield. With every mile, the anger, the hurt, and the disbelief began to mix with something else, something like relief. Relief that I finally knew the truth. Relief that I didn't have to keep guessing, keep hoping, keep clinging. When I finally returned home, the apartment felt emptier than it ever had, though it had been the same space I had shared with her for 12 years. I walked through the rooms slowly, touching the counters, the furniture, the things we had accumulated together. All of it was just stuff, now meaningless. The memories were still there, but they didn't have the weight they used to. I could breathe here. I could exist here. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't trying to survive someone else's choices. I was just existing in my own reality. That night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of whiskey. The city hummed below me, lights twinkling like distant stars. I thought about her, the woman I had loved, who had laughed for me, who had shared dreams and nights and plans. And I realized that love isn't always enough. Sometimes, people change, choices are made, and what we thought was permanent was only temporary. I felt the sting of betrayal, yes, but more than that, I felt the freedom that comes with acceptance. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was clear. And in that clarity, I found something I hadn't felt in years: peace. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was the calm before whatever came next. And I knew one thing for certain: my life, my dignity, my time, my energy, they were mine to reclaim. I don't know what Serafina's future holds, and I don't know what I will do next. But I do know this: I won't be invisible. I won't be silent. I won't allow my presence, my care, or my loyalty to be ignored or discarded without consequence. Whatever the next chapter brings, I will face it on my own terms, not hers. And as I watched the city skyline disappear behind me, I realized that maybe, just maybe, being forgotten by someone you loved is the clearest way to remember yourself.